Alright, today we're jumping into a high-profile trial. We're discussing government funding, a major presidential initiative, and some serious allegations circulating. Let's break down the testimony. So, what's this all about? Well, you've got a government contract, a whopping 200 million with no paper trail, and thousands of missing goats. Yeah, you heard that right. The big question is, what on earth went wrong here? We're going to follow the testimony to try and figure it out. Okay, so for a little bit of background, this whole thing kicks off with something called the Presidential GOAT scheme. Now, on paper, it's a government plan to help empower local communities. But the problem starts when the actual work gets handed off to private companies. That's really where all the trouble begins. And to really get what's going on in court, you kind of have to untangle this messy web of companies and people. These relationships are, well, they're complicated, and you'll see just how central they are to the whole case against the defendants. All right, let's meet the key players in this story. First up, you've got Black Deck. They're the ones who got the big government contract. Then they subcontracted the work to a company called Millet. And finally, there's the Economic Empowerment Group, or EEG. This is a pressure group. You know, one of those organizations that tries to influence the government. And guess who chairs it? The defendant. This adds a whole other layer to everything. So the setup should have been pretty straightforward, right? The government pays Black Deck, and Black Deck pays Millet to get the job done. Simple. But it's that second step, the money going from Black Deck to Millet, that's now under a microscope, especially because of the defendant's connection to it all. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. One of the biggest sticking points is the defendant's official role, or lack thereof. He gets asked about this board resolution from Black Deck, a document that basically gave him the power to act for the company. And his answer? Under oath. He says he's never even seen it. It's a classic move, right? Trying to create distance from any real power in this deal. And that brings us to a huge contradiction in his story. The question is simple. Why were you at that really important meeting with the Ministry of Agriculture? Because, well, the court got two completely different answers. So, when he's on the stand and they ask him straight up, his answer is pretty casual. He says, hey, I was just there because my friend invited me. You know, just tagging along to see what was up. But wait a minute. That's not what his own legal documents say. His official defense outline tells a totally different story. It says he was there in his official role as the chairman of the EEG, that pressure group fighting for local companies. And this is the big problem. See the two stories here? In court, he's just a buddy tagging along, but in his own defense papers, he's a chairman there on official business. You just can't be both. In a courtroom, a contradiction like that is a huge red flag. It hits right at your credibility. The prosecution is basically saying, pick a story because you can't have it both ways. So which is it, friend or official? Okay, let's talk about the money, because forget the conflicting stories for a second. Are literally 200 million reasons why this whole thing ended up in court. That's the number. 200 million. That's how much his company, Millet, supposedly got with zero documentation. And when prosecutors asked him, hey, where'd this massive pile of cash go? His defense got, let's just say, creative. Basically, he said, don't ask me. Don't. I can't personally tell you where it went. He argues that the company, Millet, is its own separate thing, so the company is responsible for the receipts, not him. It's a pretty common legal strategy, right? Trying to put a firewall between yourself and the missing money. And it's not just about the cash. Remember the goats? Well, they're missing too. The court heard that there were supposedly 32,500 goats ready for the program, but when officials actually went to count them, they found maybe 3,500. So where are the other 30,000 goats? That is a huge, huge gap. So you've got conflicting stories, missing millions, and thousands of missing animals. What happens now? Well, the court has set a pretty clear path forward, and things are moving fast. October 7th, the prosecution files its final written arguments. 2 days later, on the 9th, the defense files theirs. And then the big day is October 13th. That's when both sides get up in front of the judge and make their final pitch, their closing arguments, trying to tie everything together. Which really brings us back to the biggest question of this whole trial. You've got these conflicting stories, a ton of missing money, and what seems to be a very close friendship at the center of it all. So the court has to figure out where friendship ends, and business, or maybe even crime, begins. It's a tough one, and we'll just have to see what the verdict says. We will still be making follow-ups and updates till the end. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Signing off. So today we're diving into this really wild trial that has government money, a major presidential scheme, and thousands of missing goats. It's like
Yeah.
you wouldn't imagine, right? A $200 million contract with no proper paper trail.
Mm-hmm. And the goats, seriously. Missing goats, huh? How does it all tie together?
Well, the whole mess starts with this presidential goat scheme. On paper, it was meant to help local
Yep,
communities
exactly.
by, empowering them. But things went haywire when the work got handed off to private companies. That's where the plot thickens, with tangled relationships and a web of companies like Black Deck, Millet, and the Economic Empowerment Group, EEG.
Right. So Black Deck snagged the contract, then subcontracted to Millet, and um, the defendant was connected through EEG, like serving as its chairman. But then his story gets really weird, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it gets messy. On one hand, his official defense papers say he was there in his official capacity as EEG chairman, actively steering things. Yet when
Mm-hmm.
questioned in court about a board resolution from Black Deck, he basically claimed he never even laid eyes on it. It's like, is he really running things or just tagging along as a buddy?
That contradiction is huge. I mean, how can someone be both the official head and just a friend who was invited along? It seriously undermines his credibility.
Exactly, it's a massive red flag. And then there's the financial side of things. $200 million received by Millet with zero documentation. The defendant argued that Millet was a separate entity and that he wasn't responsible for tracking the receipts.
Right.
But when you mix that with the missing goats, the numbers are insane.
Speaking of the goats, there's supposed to be 32,500 on record, but officials only found around 3,500. That gap is just astronomical.
It is. It's like ordering a whole pizza and then only getting a single slice. The sheer scale of the discrepancy screams, something's definitely off.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I have to push back a bit. Do you really think such discrepancies on their own are a slam dunk against his story? I mean, couldn't there be, say, some accounting errors or logistical issues?
That's a fair point, and there could be other factors at play. But when you combine the conflicting testimonies, the one story where he's just a friend versus the official role he claims in his papers, with the mystery money and those missing goats, it forms a collage that's really tough to
True.
dismiss legally.
So, what's the current situation? How is the trial moving forward?
The process is moving at a breakneck pace. On October 7th, the prosecution filed their final written arguments. Then the defense followed up 2 days later. Now the big showdown is set for October 13th, where both sides will lay it all out in closing arguments. It really comes down to whether this is just a case of friendship tangled with official duties, or if there's something much more sinister.
Exactly right. Wow. It's a crazy mix. Government funds, a chaotic contract route, conflicting roles, and don't even get me started on the missing goats. It's a recipe for legal drama at its finest.
No doubt about it. It's like a perfect storm of mismanagement and dubious connections. And honestly, it's a reminder of how things can spiral out of control when oversight goes missing.
Yeah, definitely. This trial is one to keep an eye on for sure, and I'm pumped to see how it all unfolds.
Absolutely. It's a wild ride, and we'll be here watching to see where the truth, like what happened to all those goats, really lies.
For sure.